I needed to you know, go back. Like that it wasn't done, you know, and that I didn't want to have that nagging feeling. Just like in the movie, The Notebook, right? She knew when she was trying to get married and she saw the back of the newspaper, she saw, what's his name? What's his name? No, I forget his name. Anyway, when she saw him and she was like, and she freaked out because she knew why she had all that inner turmoil was because she knew deep down inside, if she asked herself that one question, am I going to be okay with never finishing that story over there? That person over there, like, you know, if she answered that one question and the answer was no, which would have been no, and if she was honest about it, without having to please her mom, without trying to please everybody else or whatever, then she, you know, if she couldn't answer no, then she knew she couldn't stay with that person because it wasn't going to work out. And I remember feeling that way also when I was actually in Mary Kay. And I love Mary Kay because, again, it was entrepreneurship, you know, it was independent. I was independent. And I moved up in, you know, the different ranks in the company, and I learned how to break down these goals. You know, we would have, let's say we had a $10,000 production goal, and we would break it down like with the team members. If everybody did such and such amount with what I did, how many parties we would have to do, and what we needed to do in production every week, and then what we needed to do every day, right? Or however many working days, okay, to hit our sales goal. But when at some point in Mary Kay, because I joined Mary Kay because obviously I've always loved the beauty industry and I always wanted to do makeup. I wanted to be a makeup artist. You know, I was always playing in makeup, doing people's faces and stuff. As I started booking people though, like when I was in Mary Kay, people would book me to do their weddings all the time. And I started kind of, people were always calling me the Mary Kay lady. And I noticed that I would get challenged sometimes while doing these appointments for people, right? They were actual bookings or whatever. I would get challenged sometimes by certain people who might have showed up to the wedding who they can themselves consider themselves a makeup artist. For whatever reason, that's what they were. They were not a Mary Kay lady. They didn't just sell products. They, you know, were a makeup artist, whatever. And so their artistry skills was, to them, superior to mine. Now, I had always looked at myself as a makeup artist, but I just sold Mary Kay because it was a way to make some money. You know, like it was a good opportunity. But it kept chipping away at me every time that happened. Because there were products and things that I would use that was not Mary Kay, that were catered to the makeup artistry world, and I would use them when I was doing outside events and stuff, right? But sometimes people were only looking at me as the Mary Kay lady who came over to help with makeup, right? And it kept chipping away at me, and I knew, after 8 years of being in Mary Kay, I knew that there was no goal in Mary Kay that was going to take away the feeling inside of me that I knew I wanted to be a makeup artist when I was 3 years old. I can remember being at 3 years old, I can remember coloring faces, and I can remember looking at people and thinking I wanted to do makeup. I wanted to put lipstick on people. I knew I wanted to do that. I didn't know there was anything called a makeup artist. I just knew I wanted to do that. I wanted to beautify people. So this was something that was in me for a very long time, but it's more or less, it was more or less visual effects, like visual arts and stuff like that. But for me, I knew I identified on the inside of me as a makeup artist. Okay. And so I knew if I didn't leave Mary Kay, I didn't care how much money I really made in Mary Kay. I didn't care about what goal. At one point, I kind of got bored, but it was more or less also, there's a lot of things going on at that time in my life too. But it was like, how much time do you want to spend now here? You've already kind of maxed out what you wanted to do. But you have not hit your goals over here. And people are only seeing you like this or whatever, and you know you are really like a makeup artist. Like you always had X, Y, Z dreams, goals, whatever. I wanted to do movies, short films, whatever, music videos. And I actually systematically hit every single thing on my list that I wanted to do. Now, at one point I wanted to be in the union. And then when it came time where I could have really pursued being in the union, I was already old enough to the point where I was like, you know what, the union life for makeup artists is not for me, because waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and stuff like that, you know, yeah, I'm a crabby patty. I need my sleep, and I'm kind of set in my ways when it comes to that. Like, don't bother me, and don't be waking me up. And I don't like living on little sleep. I can do a little bit here and there, you know, when life calls for it, like having a new baby or whatever, right? But having to go on set all the time, call time, nope. I decided no, not the life for me. I can't do it. And then after I hit a few of my goals, and even like when I did some like movies, short films and stuff like that, I realized that also I wasn't crazy about movie sets either, because it was a little boring, monotonous for me, because it was, you know, it wasn't changing enough, you know. And so after I hit a couple of my goals, and I realized, like, okay, that's not my niche. That's not my niche either. I don't like that either. I realized that I really did like the interaction of the one-on-one. And I really loved, you know, I do still love weddings, and I do still do them or whatever, but I really love the interaction of the one-on-one, you know, and working with the clients and having different faces. I actually enjoy that. Because I like, as long as I like the person. Now, if I don't like the person, then forget it, right? But anyway, and I realized that really was my zone, right? And so, but I knew that I couldn't stay in Mary Kay and just sell products, because in Mary Kay, they say you teach, don't touch. We teach. And I knew that wasn't my lane. I wanted to touch. I wanted to actually do makeup, right? So I knew I was not going to be able to forgive myself if I didn't pursue harder doing just artistry, makeup artist skills, and actually being more street savvy with makeup, okay? Anyway, and so there are certain things in life, I think, at certain times where it's like you have to have that moment with yourself that's like, okay, how long am I going to endure this, whatever situation where I know I'm not being true to myself or my gut, or what I really need to do, or whatever, right? How long am I going to do this? Right? And again, sometimes, like I say, you know, it might involve telling some people, like, okay, I'm no longer doing Mary Kay. I'm no longer going to be your sales director. And that was a little bit sad, you know. It was sad. It was actually very sad, you know, because it's like, you know, change is coming, and you're not going to have that same interaction and that same rapport or that same relationship or whatever with these people, or you might be moving or whatever, yada, yada, right? And again, some people might be happy, might be sad, but you know you are heading in a direction that's going to make you happy. Okay? And so you can check that little thing off your list, which is the very first thing might be like, first of all, make that decision. Second of all is, you know, resign from your job or whatever, right? Even I've had to, there were times, you know, that it's like, okay, you can't stay in this particular relationship because you and that person are not, you know, on the same page when it comes to your goals, or when it comes to where you see yourself in your life, right? And it's like, and it's more than that. It's usually, when it comes to relationships, it's usually a lot more than that. Okay? But that part in particular, I know for me, I can't be with, I did figure out 5 or 6 years ago or so that being with a partner that wasn't 100% on board with the things that I wanted to do, and my goals, it wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work out, you know. And I kind of always knew that. It's just that I got lucky the first time around and had a partner that was very supportive. So I never experienced this whole non-supportive kind of partner. And when I did, it was like, this ain't going to work. I mean, I can remember feeling overwhelming feelings of tightness and anxiety, and like, oh my God, this is just not going to work. This ain't going to work. This is not going to work. Because I can't stop doing makeup, or I can't stop doing whatever, XYZ. I'm not going to stop. It'd be like somebody trying to tell me, you know, we're married now, and all of a sudden it's like, you can't worship Jehovah God. Okay, bye, Felicia. Really? You know, like, it's just, to me, that's just how it is for me. Now, I know there are some people who are different. It takes them, they're people pleasers, right? But I'm not a people pleaser. So, I'm okay with seeing if you gotta cry and you gotta be sad because you've already proven and shown yourself to me or whatever, like, this is not gonna work or whatever, like, eventually, It's like, I don't want that. I'm not going to choose that, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Because some things to me in life is just non-negotiable. It's just non-negotiable. Like, I'm not about to sit here and be tortured, and, you know, put myself down forever. Now, I do think that there are times in life that it does require you to sacrifice, you know, and people in general. Like, let's say when you love somebody dearly, like when I took care of my grandparents, they were elderly, and that was a sacrifice. That was a time that I sacrificed greatly because their health was going down. I loved my grandparents, and people do sacrifice for family in a lot of ways, for sure, especially when, you know, certain things, right? Especially when you see it's necessary. But that type of sacrifice usually brings you joy. There's a certain amount of joy that comes with doing that. For somebody that you love, that loved you, right? Like your grandparents who, you know, they maybe invested a lot of time in you, spent time on you when you were younger, and they loved you, right? And it's like your turn to show your love back. Nobody wants to invest and sacrifice, let's say, with a partner who doesn't do the same back for you. And I don't mean that they can't because of their health, but I mean, even if they got bad health, right? But imagine trying to sacrifice for somebody who, you know, is in bad health, and maybe you're sacrificing being a caretaker for them, but they have a nasty attitude. Like, they might be in the wheelchair being a narcissist. In their wheelchair, they're bossing you around, being nasty, calling you names or whatever, and you got to wipe their butt. That ain't going to work out very long, is it? It's going to be like, you know what? Nah, I can't be listening to your sarcasm or your, you know, abusive words or whatever, and I gotta take care of you, wipe your butt, bathe you, whatever, yada yada. I sacrifice all my time, what I want to do, whatever for you. No, okay, that's not gonna work. Now, when somebody does that for somebody who, you know, you spent years together, you love each other, that person put time into you, and you feel like you want to put that time in, and they're not doing that to you, they're not abusing you during that time, that's different, right? And a lot of times that brings you a sense of fulfillment and joy, because when somebody has been good to you, you naturally want to be good back to them, and a lot of times that means sacrificing. And I'm not talking about that, okay? I'm not talking about that in particular. I'm just talking about, like, you know, different times in life where you have actually made a decision to, let's say, go for something, right? And a lot of people just don't agree with it. They just don't agree with it. And it's like, you know, it's going to be a big goal. Oh, okay. And it's something that you're going to have to do on yourself, on your own, by yourself. You'll have to break that goal down, literally, like from, let's say, for example, okay. Let's say, for example, you want a new car so that you can travel and not worry about the car breaking down. Because let's say you have an older car and it breaks down too much and you can't drive anywhere, right? And you don't want to rent the car for whatever, right? But getting a newer car may require having to get a different job or a better job or whatever. And so you know, it's kind of like your end goal is maybe traveling, but it's kind of like, how do you get that to that point of traveling with a new car and you don't have the money and you have an old car right now that won't take you maybe to a better job that might be out of state or something like that, right? And it's like one thing relies upon another, relies upon another. It's like this hamster wheel. Oh, that's annoying when you have times in life like that. It's annoying. Oh, that's so annoying. I understand. When it's like, you need a job, but you can't, you know, you need a job so you can buy a car, but you need a car so you can get to your job. Oh, that's annoying. That's a hamster wheel, right? Anyway, that requires prayer, a lot of prayer, to open your mind up so you can see a way. That's, when you have times like that, that's what that means. It's like, God, help me. Please help me. Open up my mind so I can see what options are in front of me or what I can do. Or, please bless me with a blessing in my lap. Okay? So, that's what that requires when you're on a hamster wheel like that. But anyway, sometimes it's just a matter of like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I have to get another job closer to home, or maybe work from home or something like that. That makes X, Y, Z. And I need to save up every single week. I need to save up $300 every week. Needs to go into my car savings, right? So that at the end of 6 months, I have whatever amount of money is what I got, and I'm going to use that as a down payment for the new car. And when I get that new car with low miles or whatever, then I can actually use that to travel or whatever. But that's what I mean when I say you have to really, to eat an elephant one bite at a time, you have to break it down. I mean, you literally have to break it down. Like, don't look at the whole thing and get overwhelmed by seeing the whole big elephant that you have to eat. What do they do for horses? They put blinders on horses, right? Why do they do that when a horse is racing? Because the horse can only see what's in front of them and not here or there, right? And the horse is only looking at what's in front of them, and they're just running as fast as they can. And it keeps them focused. And that's basically what breaking your goals down and eating an elephant one bite at a time, or breaking your goals down very small into monthly, weekly, daily, maybe even hourly, could be even hourly. And that way you get to the ultimate long-term goal. And that works in sales too. Even as far as sales, people know, like when you have, let's say the goal is, making 3 appointments a week, and to make 3 appointments, to make 1 appointment, you have to talk to 10 people to talk, so if you want 3 appointments, that means you got to talk to like 30 people. And if the goal is 30 people that you got to actually talk to sell whatever, right? Okay, then that means every day you got to talk to, or let's say however many days you work, you got to divide that by 30. And that's how many people you have to talk to every single day, present that opportunity or that sales pitch to or whatever, so that you can get your ultimate goal, right? And that's breaking it down. And that is how you ultimately get to your end goal, your end game. But you yourself have to make the decision first. You have to first make the decision yourself that this is something that you want to pursue or you want to do. And understand that you may or may not be making everybody happy, or, you may be disappointing some people. They may not like what you're doing or whatever, I mean, for example, if, you've had issues with your significant other who wants you to stay at home and cook and clean all day long, and that's all he wants, and you want to pursue something else or whatever, maybe your kids are older or whatever, now you can, and it's not going to make him happy, right? And I'm not saying necessarily you have to leave that person, because you don't know, I don't know, whatever, I'm not saying whatever, but you just got to know in your mind, like, this is what you're going to do, and, if he doesn't understand, he's just going to be unhappy. And it may be because he's like, well, I only like your cooking. Okay, well, I'm going to teach this other chef, whatever, how to cook just like I do. Whatever, right? So that, you can try to have some sort of agreement. You can come to terms, you can try to make him happy while you're trying to pursue XYZ, singing, dancing, whatever, whatever it is your dream, a career, whatever it is. Okay. It's just that you have to understand that comes with the territory a lot of times with making a decision to doing something. It's like you can't always make everybody happy, It's kind of like I remember for the longest time, after my husband passed, I wanted very much to be near my family, to be near my mother and my father. I really did. But I absolutely could not stand being in Florida. And I tried twice to move back. I couldn't stand being in Florida because of a lot of reasons. One of them was because I got triggered by too many memories of me and my husband. It was we made love everywhere. Everywhere I went, up and down in Florida, me and him, we had such an active life. Because we didn't have kids right away, we did a lot. And I was like, there was nowhere I could go that I felt like me and him did not walk on the ground and not have that memory. And it was so fresh that I remember feeling completely overwhelmed and triggered. And I would be hit with anxiety all the time. And that's when I moved back, right? And it was like, I wanted to be there because my family was there. And they wanted me there because my kids made them happy too. But, in the end, I had to make the decision to go somewhere. And that's when I decided to come back and stay in Atlanta area, because it was a newer place here for me, that there wasn't a lot of triggers coming up in my face constantly of being reminded of the love of my life passing. And that's very common with widows. That's very common when somebody when they lose a spouse. In the beginning, for a little while, they feel comfortable staying in that comfort zone, and then the comfort zone begins to feel like walls that are coming in on you and will start to suffocate you. And a lot of widows or people who have lost a significant other or whatever, they have to move out of that house because they feel too many reminders of the love that they lost, especially when they're younger, when you're widowed younger in life, and you still have a lot of life left to live. Okay. And so it was like, I knew I wasn't making my family happy. I knew I wasn't making my mom and dad happy because of moving away, but it was like, I couldn't do it. I knew I couldn't do it. I knew it was too hard, and it was, and so I had to accept that and be okay with just traveling and visiting and making sure the boys got down there all the time to visit grandma and grandpa for every vacation and make sure so that they could keep their relationship up and everything, right? Anyway, that is what happens sometimes. And, for me personally, when I ask myself that question, how am I going to feel if I don't do this thing over here? If I don't do this thing over here, or if I don't move, like, leave, Florida or whatever, or if I don't pursue being a makeup artist, which is like something I had always wanted to do, if I don't XYZ, and I remember even feeling that way even with kids, because initially I was kidded out because I had dealt with kids so much growing up, and I was the oldest, and I babysat so many kids and everything, and I was kidded out. I even worked at a daycare center, and I remember telling my husband, like, I don't want kids. I want to, like, work on my career. I wanted to go back to school. I did all that stuff, and he was like, yeah, no kids. And then I remember about 4 years into being married, it was like he started kind of bringing it up a little bit, but I remember feeling like, how am I going to feel if I don't give this man a child? If I don't give this man a child, how am I going to feel? Am I going to feel like, am I going to regret that? And I knew I would. I knew I was going to regret it. But I remember telling him, okay, if we have kids, you got to be like a big player. You got to help a lot, because kids are a lot. Because he was the baby. And I was like, I don't think you understand, because you're the baby, and I don't think you understand how consuming kids are. And I'm going to need you to be, hands-on or whatever. Like this is a big deal or whatever, right? And I remember saying even to him, like, you can't stop me from, doing things that I want to do, like being a makeup artist or whatever, because I always wanted that. So I knew at some point it was like, you're going to have to help. And so he agreed to, of course, because, he wanted kids. And I also felt like, for sure, I felt like it was my job, like who else could do that for him anyway, right? But of course, in the beginning, he didn't want kids. It was like, he kind of agreed. Like, he was like, no, we don't want kids right now. But then when he changed, I did adjust for him because I loved him. That was the other thing. I loved him. And I wanted to do that for him, right? But it was like, I don't want that regret. And that was the main thing. That's kind of what I'm talking about. And that's where I'm at, for sure, where I'm at in my life right now. I'm just definitely in that place of like, I've had to make some, decisions and some big changes and things throughout my life. And in this last couple years, I really had to make some changes that, the decision I made did not make this person happy or that person happy or that person happy. And I'm sorry, but it's like, no, that doesn't fit into what I, expressed to you prior to this arrangement or this, commitment or whatever that we put together. This and this and this is not fitting in and is not aligning with me, and this is not going to work. It's just not going to work. And I love you, but there's going to be somebody better out there who's going to fit your description of a relationship or of a job or whatever, right? Even when it comes to my business and makeup, like, I have had to twice. I have returned, and let me tell you, I have I think I don't return money back. When people send me a deposit, it's not a deposit. It's usually it's a travel fee or whatever. And I tell people, if your wedding don't go down or whatever, you're not getting this money back, because I'm holding this date for you, and I've already passed up probably several other opportunities for work because of holding this date for you. So this is a hold fee, and I don't give it back. But if I have to give somebody their money back, now I don't tell them this part, but this has always been my rule, and I've only done it twice. If I decided I don't want somebody as a client, as a customer or client of mine, because their energy is bad, like they got bad energy. Like I feel like I'm going to regret taking them on as a client because they're going to be a bridezilla, or they're going to be nasty, or whatever. I can just tell by how they, and I've only seen this twice, really heavy. I've warned a few people. Like, look, you could be a bridezilla from over there, but not with me, because I will leave your face. I will leave you high and dry on your wedding day if you try to talk to me any type of way. I'm not putting up with it. Because you can see how, because weddings definitely, for sure, put people under a lot of pressure. And either the best comes out or the worst comes out, for sure. Because you're with people, you're with family, it's a lot of pressure, whatever, right? But for the most part, they're nice to me because they know they don't want to be left. Because I've said, if I've had to warn them, I've warned them, and that was okay. But the two people in particular, I sent money back. And it was specifically, they didn't ask for the money back. I didn't have to, but I sent it back. Why? Because I was like, nope, your money comes with bad energy. I literally said that. Two people, two clients, 2 times, texted back. They got a letter that said, I'm returning your money. I'm returning all energy that I have received from you, because I don't want anything with your name on it. Like, I don't want it. Okay? It was like the experience that I had with them, that I saw them, how they treated their family, how they treated even potentially their future husband. With my own eyes, I saw such bad energy. I mean, nasty attitude, that I was like, I don't want to be a part of this. I could tell and I'm talking about the kind of person who, is nasty to waitresses at restaurants, or who is nasty, or thinks they're better than others, or has a kind of a self-entitlement kind of attitude, and it's to the extreme. Like, I'm seeing it with my own eyes, and you can tell they're super picky with themselves, and they'll be super picky even with makeup. And these are people who are actually internally not happy with themselves anyway. And so that's why when you're not happy on the inside, you can't be happy with anybody or anything on the outside. You're not going to be happy with your house, your car, your husband, your family, your kids. You're not going to be happy with anybody because you're not internally happy with yourself. You're not calm enough or whatever. You have some shadow work you got to get done, okay? But I'm not the one to tell you. I'm not here for that or whatever. And I can just see that this person has problems, and I have sent money back. And I was like, nope, I don't want anything to do with it. I changed my mind. And in fact, lose my number, and I blocked them. Because it's like, nope, not dealing with it. I don't even want to be associated with this wedding. And the 2 times that I've had to do that, both times it was relayed back to me that I made the best decision, because everybody who was in connection to that wedding was a hot mess, and everybody got their feelings hurt, and it was horrible. And see, because I've always been so sensitive to people's energy and their stuff, I pick up too much on people's feelings and stuff like that, I can't do it. I literally cannot do it. And so I also cannot deal with regrets. I can't do it, and even whenever I've tried, every time I've tried, it's literally, I'm in a state of turmoil that whole time that I'm trying to shove something down. And I can't deal with it. It's just not, I just decided, like, it's just, that's not right. I'm not going to go out like that. I'm not going to go out like that. I'm not going to be dishonest. I'm not going to hold back or whatever, my feelings or whatever. I ain't doing it. I'd rather be honest. And the older I get and the more experiences that I've gone through, I'm definitely even more like that, where it's like, nope, I'm not trying to go down with a bunch of regrets and not having tried XYZ, doing this and this and that. Even if I fail at this thing or whatever, at least I can live with myself and say, I tried. Okay? No matter how big that goal is. And I do have a couple of very big goals right now. But I'm definitely going for it. And I'm okay, and it's in that journey of going for the goals. It's in that journey of breaking your goals down and doing everything systematically, every single day, and accomplishing small goals along the way, where you gain even more confidence, and where you're living that life and you're feeling a fulfillment and happiness on the inside, because you're going for something that it's something that either you really want to do, or in the end it's going to bring a lot of joy or whatever, right? So anyway, I talked too long this time. I'm trying to keep my videos shorter. Bye.